Recording has started. Thank you all for joining. I hope that everything will work out just fine today during Quriobot's second webinar. As always, this will be recorded and will be shared afterwards. In case there are questions, please do feel free to ask them. I noticed during the first webinar that there was a little bit back and forth on the questions and answers, so I will address them, but probably at the end of the webinar, so that the story as such in between does not get interrupted. But as said, if you do have stuff to put forward, please do feel free to share. What are we going to do today? Today we will be building connections with Quriobot. We are first going to start with creating variables and two bots that I've prepared, as you can see on the screen. One is for a connection with Mailchimp, and the other one is to set up a connection with Zapier. And to make it a bit interesting, I created a Zap which sends a text message to the mobile phone number that has been given in the Quriobot conversation, which could be a very interesting thing to set up in case you, for example, want to send a text message when there is a hot lead on your website and you, for example, want to involve a salesperson. Now, the actual building of the bots I've done prior to the webinar. We will be walking through a couple things which I think are all good to know. I hope that we will make it within the hour. If not, then new webinars, of course, will be shared. And also, we are going to cut up this webinar in different segments for you to use later. So let's get started with building a Quriobot that is connected to Mailchimp. One of the reasons to have this is to make sure that the sales lead information is stored in the Mailchimp list. One of the other reasons could be is that you want to make sure that people will receive email campaigns, automated or not, and of course that if they've had a conversation with a Quriobot, that later on, for example, a confirmation email is sent to them. So also in my Mailchimp account, I've made some preparations. Before going into Mailchimp, let's first walk through the Quriobot that has been built. It's a very simple one. With the start from scratch template, which kicks off with the first question, whether somebody wants to get started or not. A second question on what the person's first name is. I have not entered any bot responses for it, since for this example, it will not be necessary. Next to the first name, there is a last name question, also a short text. The reason to split this up is that this will help you on making the email campaigns that can follow afterwards more personal by, for example, addressing people with their first name and the email that you are going to send. Next one up is, of course, the email question with the question what somebody's email address is, and the last one is the legal question, which asks whether people agree to the terms and conditions. Especially the last one is a good one to keep in mind. I mean, if you are looking to connect Quriobot with other tools, then it is very likely that you are collecting data, and to be sure that you are making the right moves which are GDPR compliant, it's always good to add a legal step to your Quriobot when you are asking for personal details. As a reminder, the link that is shown within the legal step to link, for example, to the privacy policy can be entered within the design tab, as you can see here, where I copy pasted the ones from QB itself. So I don't think there's a lot to explain on the bot itself, aside from the legal stuff. The most important part following these two steps is, of course, the creation of variables, which you do in the advanced tab. I didn't do anything with the landing page, and the embed code is not necessary. As a recap, what we are doing here is making sure that we identify which elements of the conversation need to be used elsewhere. And the term that we've given to these elements are so-called variables. So you can create a new one by clicking Add New Variable. What you then get is a card, as you can see it here. And what you need to do basically are two things, or at least I, as non-techie, always do two things, being the naming of the variable and selecting what step or content of which step is needed for it. So in this case, the input as we get it from step 2 is named first name. That's simply just the title that I've given this variable. Step 3, also a short text, I've named last name, because the question is, what is your last name? And step 4, what is your email address, has been given the name email. Now, as you can see, the legal step in this regard is not taken into account, nor the first question whether somebody is ready to start. We could incorporate these variables as well, but they are irrelevant for our case. I mean, what we are looking to do here is to let people, for example, subscribe to a newsletter or make sure to get in touch. For that reason, or those variables, it's not necessary to incorporate. So we only need these 3. With that, we basically have Quriobot set up in such a way that we can connect it to Mailchimp, and we are going to do that in the connections tab. There is an advanced condition here regarding the legal step. I will get to that in a bit, and there are also already some details filled out here. But we will get to that later, since we also need to make sure to have a Mailchimp account going and a list available where all of this information goes to. So let's park whatever is done in Quriobot now first. Let's quickly go to Mailchimp. You can just sign up here for free if you don't have an account. It's all very easy. There are just a few things that I quickly wanted to highlight, since I think they're interesting for you guys to know. So the Quriobot is ready to go, and we need to make sure that Mailchimp can actually receive the information that this Quriobot is collecting. So you need to create an account, and after you create an account, you create a list, and that you can simply do by going into the list menu section and create a new list. And with that, you basically have your, let's just call it folder available in which the data from your Quriobot is going to end up. And in a second, we are going to determine which data from Quriobot ends up here. What is also a good thing to know is how you can set up a confirmation email, because Quriobot can send emails for you. But I can imagine that if you are letting people subscribe to your mail lists, that you want this confirmation email to actually come from Mailchimp, or that there are other automated steps that you would like to incorporate, let's say a drip campaign. These kind of things you can make within the campaigns tab, in which you simply select create a new campaign, and then you have to select the automated one. And then within the automated section, so I can quickly show you, so you click create new campaign, you of course want to create an email, and if you then click automated, then you can select welcome new subscribers, which is the email that people then get after they've completed the conversation with Quriobot. And after you've done that, you can, of course, design it. So I will do this one right here. And I can preview it. And the setup of this email, you will figure out yourself, because it's not that difficult. It's a drag and drop menu, and this email simply just reads, welcome on board, thank you for signing up. In the first webinar, you will find how you can use other tags, but this is very, very simple in that regard. So with that, we have, I'll quickly save and exit this. We have the lists ready to go. And within the campaigns, you see that there is a campaign ready that says, thank you for subscribing. There are 2 opened and 1 click, because there was a point, of course, in which I already built this one, being 2 days ago. So we have a bot that is ready to collect data. We have a MailChimp list that is ready to receive that data. And we have a confirmation email, which is in that regard only more helpful for the total experience. I mean, if you have a conversation with with a bot and you provide a mail address, then it is quite nice if there is a confirmation available. So this is the point where we need to start connecting these two. And to do so, we need to first get the information from MailChimp on which list people will end up. So I've created the list webinar 2510-2018, and to get the necessary information, I need to go to the element of the sign up forms, and then after that you select the second option, being the embedded forms. What you get here is basically the subscribe to our newsletter box, which you can incorporate in your website. But in the section right underneath, you will find the information that we actually need, because there are a few elements of the sign-up form which we need to put in the Quriobot conversation, so that Quriobot lets these newsletter subscribers end up here. Good to keep in mind when you start working with this is that in this Quriobot, we've identified 3 variables that we are going to push forward, being the first name, the last name, and the email. So these variables, of course, need to correspond with these elements. If you want to replace your email subscription form with some other additional information, then these, of course, also need to correspond. So if you, for example, want to segment people on gender and you're asking for that, then that is something that you also need to identify in here yourself. For this first step, we are, however, going to make it relatively straightforward, because these are the most important things that you'll look to get from people when they are looking to subscribe for your newsletter. What you don't see in here, and I'm quickly tapping into one of the questions that is just being asked, how do you, in this regard, make sure that you keep consent from MailChimp or from people? That I'm going to tackle with this rule, because basically what this does is making sure that people who do not agree to your terms and conditions do not end up in your email list, and you will see the answers as given in your results section of your Quriobot. But with this, people actually do not sign up, so that helps you with keeping track of people's preferences, and in that regard also remaining GDPR compliant. You do need to get legal consent, of course, if people want to subscribe, hence the legal step that is in there. Right, so we have this form available, and there are a few elements that we need to put into our Quriobot to make sure that the collected data will end up here. Those things are as soon as you select the new connection. So I'll quickly go to the bottom so I can show you. So if you click new response connection, then you can click Mailchimp here as a predefined item, and then you will find that there are items here which you need to fill out. Summarize, these are as follows. You need to make sure that this URL corresponds to the URL that you can get from your embedded form. You need to provide the U variable. You need to provide an ID, and we of course need to make sure that the variables as we've defined them within our advanced tab, that they are corresponding with the variables as Mailchimp calls them. And we identify a variable with these two characters. Mailchimp in this regard has the caps lock. So I'm quickly going to delete this one so I can walk through the pre-filled version so I can confirm that this goes. Because, and we will get into this advanced condition step in a bit, we'll first start off with walking through the list. So I have my webinar 25/10/2018 list. I go into this section and I first need to get the right URL. That's the form action URL that needs to be copy pasted in there. So that is this little friend right here. This one needs to be copy pasted into this section. You'll see that that one corresponds. Following the form action URL, we need to get the U variable. Don't ask me why, but this is what needs to be done. And that is everything before the N sign. So what I've selected here, this is what needs to go into the value field right here. The third one up, and actually the last one to identify whatever is needed to let people subscribe to this list, is the ID, which you can find right here, and everything from between the 0 until the EA at the very end. That is what needs to be copy pasted into the ID section here. Now with that, we have identified which data needs to be sent, or sorry, which list actually needs to be filled with data collected from the Quriobot. But then as a last part, we need to make sure that it is clear for Mailchimp which fields are actually going to be filled out. And as we've seen here on the embedded box, so to speak, on the embed box, there are 3 elements here, being the email address, the first name, and the last name. And these you can do right here. So these are the additional 3 fields that need to be done, and I will quickly walk through them. The first one up is email, and as said, this is how Mailchimp names this tag. So with us, it's with the symbols on the side. For Mailchimp, it is email in capitals. Now here we need to make sure that these two correspond, so that the receiving end knows that the email address question ends up right there. So here it's called email, and since I've named my email input variable email in small letters, I need to make sure that I put them here with these 2 characters. Now the first name is fname in capitals, as it's called by Mailchimp, which needs to correspond with the first name as we've identified it. So I'll quickly go back into the advanced step type. And as you can see here, I've called it first name, all in small letters, and be careful because it is case sensitive. These small letters correspond with the first name right here. And then the last one, and I will not spend as much time on that one, is last name, and these are predefined when you select the Mailchimp response action type. This one is the last name. And if you save this, and I've done this before, but these steps are perfectly explained in the QB Academy, then you have a bot that will push collected data, these 3 fields, into this sign-up form. One additional thing that I thought is good to add is the legal step. If you don't have this legal step in here, then you are asking people for personal details that no matter what are pushed into MailChimp. If you want to do it like I did here, then you are only going to push data into MailChimp from people that have explicitly given permission to do so and that have explicitly agreed to your terms and conditions and privacy statement. Now, to make sure that only that data ends up in your MailChimp list, you have to add an advanced condition. And I guess this is basically as it looks. There is not much more to it in that regard. In the advanced condition, you say that you are going to create an AND rule, because if data is filled out and step 5 concerning the legal step is a yes, then the data continues and then it ends up in MailChimp. So if it's not, and there is no right selection made right here, then the email addresses and the personal data is not going to end up in the MailChimp account. Right, so let's put that one to the test, because with this we have everything ready to go. We have the bot that collects the data, we have MailChimp on the receiving end, we have a rule established that concerns the legal steps, and with that there is not much more to it. So I'm going to walk through this bot twice to also show you when data ends up in MailChimp or not, and how that confirmation email then looks. So my name is gtest1 as a first name, and you will see that there will be a lot of stuff ending up in MailChimp, but it's just for the idea. And also my last name is gtest1. Email address is hello@quriobot.com. As you can see, the bot is not responding, with anything, just for the sake of the test, of course. So I've now agreed with the terms and conditions, and let me quickly start again, because now I'm going to fill it out again to double check whether data is not ending up if there is no agreement to the terms and conditions. So this is test 2. And here I'm saying no. Right, so I've done the building, I've done the receiving. Because at first this will take a second, so I'm now quickly going to check whether I have received the email in which I've signed up for MailChimp. Give me a quick second, because also the email needs to come in. I am, however, already going to my list, which needs to refresh. There we have one subscriber. To give you the proof that it's indeed working, aside from this one, I will open up the email that I've just received. This is the welcome on board. Thank you for signing up. You've just seen this one in the MailChimp account as I just created it. So the confirmation email is being sent. And if I now go into the list and I click this right here, then you'll see that the email address hello@Quriobot is in there with the first name gtest1 and also last name gtest1, because I've filled out the exact same thing in the 2 different questions. I am subscribed, and just to be completely clear, there is only one. The other one did not end up here. But as always, if there is data coming in, then you can always access this via the report section in your bot, because although the data is in this case not pushed from your Quriobot to your Mailchimp list, everything has been completed, so it also will be marked as such. What you will, however, see is that in the last column, the answer is no. So if you ever look to make an export of all of the leads that this bot has connected, then you will find that that question will be divided in the yeses and the nos. The yeses ended up in Mailchimp, the nos didn't. To answer another question coming in regarding the storing of the yes-no question, and whether you can actually have that in Mailchimp, the answer to that is yes, you can. But and I will not be covering that one right now in this webinar. If you are looking to do this, then you need to make sure that within your sign-up forms, you also have that yes-no question identified, and that you create the same correspondence between these variables, these variables in here, as well as these variables in here. So just to be completely clear, the question that I just got was, can we also save the answer to the legal step in Quriobot within Mailchimp, so that in your list, aside from the first name, the last name, and the email address, there was also a column with the yes/no on the consent asset. So the answer to that is yes, but you do need to play around with making sure that all fields and all variables on Quriobot and are corresponding. So with this, you have a bot that collects the data, that pushes the data into Mailchimp, that makes sure that if people do not give the necessary consent to your terms and conditions, that they are then not subscribed. So you basically have everything that you want. If you're a member of the Facebook group, then you've probably also seen some questions that arise on, for example, transcripts from conversations. You can use Mailchimp for that as well, right? So aside from the variables that are being listed in here, you can let other data be displayed as well. That is a bit more time consuming. I would suggest to set up a connections tab for that, and then add an email to it. If you are looking to find out how you can let Quriobot send customized emails in your look and feel, then please make sure to check the first webinar, but also are also some opportunities there with Mailchimp. Now, let me quickly close this bot for Mailchimp, because we are moving forward with the one for Zapier. And as mentioned before, we are going to let Quriobot send a text message to somebody. I think that's one of the coolest add-on features, so to speak, that you can set up. You can, of course, together with the Zapier, create all kinds of crazy things. But I think this is a rather nice one. And actually, this one also enables you or allows you to completely try it out for free. So let me quickly redo some stuff. This one is no longer necessary. And as you can see, I'm everywhere in trial accounts. I have, of course, my own, but that one contains all kinds of personal data that I'd rather not have out there on the web. So Mailchimp is done. We're going to create some zaps, and again, I'm going to walk through a few things in the bot, what you need to do here, and how you can let it send a text message. For this, I actually have 3 tools that are needed for it. It's of course Quriobot to collect the necessary data. It's Zapier as the man in the middle, which picks up the webhook to push it to a different tool. And the third tool, the one that I actually use to send the text messages, and it can be used all over the world. And you can create a free account to send free text messages at first. This one is called Messagebird, a fellow Dutch company here from Amsterdam. I can honestly recommend to check it out because also me as a non-techie, I was able to get this completely set up also without any help from the dev guys over here. So let's get to the first one up, which is the Quriobot that collects the data. Again, I used the start from scratch template here, which starts off with the yes and no. I've left the first 2 short text step types in there, asking for somebody's first name and for somebody's last name. And the most important one is the phone number from the person. And actually in this example, since we have more steps to cover than a Mailchimp, this is the only data that I will be using. In case you're looking to get more and push more data into Zapier, it's good to know that we're currently working on a template in which a few things have been predefined, and also that on the QB Academy you can find an article that covers some more things. So in this one I'm only going to use the phone number, but still, to be fully GDPR compliant, I do ask for the consent from somebody. And just like with Mailchimp, you do need a Zapier account for this. This is a paid service. You can go on, but there are some limitations to it. And in the contrary to Mailchimp, it's good to first make sure to get your Zapier account going. So you can sign up, and after signing up, the first step is clicking on Make a Zap. I will do this just so you've seen it once, but as you've seen just now, there is already something available here, but just as an example. So you create your a webhook. You after that select the catch hook. Then you need a second. This one at first you can leave empty, so you can just click continue, and after that it provides you with a URL which you're going to need in your Quriobot. So this is something to keep in mind. This step here is an important one, because if you've done this and you click on the search, that is when Zapier is basically going to try and catch the data that is coming from your Quriobot. Good to keep in mind also when you start playing around with this is that there are always 2 ways in which you can set up Zaps. One is to go into Zapier yourself and then create new ones, or you go into the app that you're looking to use. So in this case, Messagebird, and then, for example, click Zapier here, and then follow the steps from there. Because the way it works is that you build a bot that pushes the data to Zapier, and as soon as that happens and you have a successfully working webhook, then from there on out it's the the job is with Zapier, so to speak. So that link, and this one is off because I haven't finished it. That link that you just saw, you will need in the step when setting up the connections. So I have the bot ready that is going to collect the data. I haven't done anything else in the design, embed, or landing page tab. The only thing that I've done is in the advanced step, I've changed the names of the variables in this case. So what I've done here, and there was some sloppy stuff here, but eventually it doesn't really matter what you actually name the variable as long as you can differentiate them from one another. I've given the second step, again, the name, first name, small letters, no capitals. What is your last name? I changed it into last name, and in this case, the phone number I've just called demo. Doesn't really matter, you can name it whatever you like. All notifications are turned off, just like before, and within the connections tab, this is where everything is happening, and as you can see, there's actually really not that much to it. So we have the link that we just got from Zapier, and as soon as you want to start connecting there, you click on Add New Response Action. You select the JSON webhook, and this URL is where you copy and paste the catch link that you just received from Zapier. As soon as Zapier catches your webhook and the info that is coming in here, then it's from there on out, it's in that regard done. So the message that I haven't done anything for too long, I see I haven't saved anything, so then you get these connection timed out sessions. So that's one of the important rules, keep on saving, because if I now click save, then I'll be kicked out, but I'm just simply staying in this screen right now. Is as soon as it's there and it's caught by Zapier, then the next steps need to be defined here. So as said, what I've done is I clicked in Messagebird, I clicked here, visit Zapier to install, and from here on out, I went onwards to create the different steps that are necessary. So I selected this one, send Messagebird SMS messages from webhooks. If you click connect, you start get going. Of course, this will take a little second. Then it's the cache hook, that you've just created. You set it up. And here you need to have, the right one. So let me quickly check, because I don't think it's this one right here, not the one that I just created. It's this. Oh, I did that. But I've tested it before, so I don't need to test it right now. I guess I do. Doesn't really matter. So I'm going to, just to be sure that you know what I'm doing here, you see that this icon is running. That means that Zapier is on the lookout for something to be caught here. And I could not continue, so I have to make sure that actually something is going. So I click ready to start, and I fill out some stuff. And we're on to test 3 by now. So here, test 3. Legal step in this case, if you've seen it very quickly, is not taken into account, because there is no additional or no advanced condition being identified. Here, I'm quickly going to drag this one out of the screen, because otherwise I will be getting phone calls. But as you've seen it in the bot, the only thing left is the legal step after it asks for the phone number, and from there on out it continues. Now you've heard that that text. That is the SMS that I already got, which I think is the reason why now the catching of this one is not happening, because it actually is already in use somewhere else. So the actual testing of this step is not really necessary, because as you just heard it, it is already working. Just let me see whether I can quickly go into there. Right. So that one was there. So now continue, and there are the accounts that are available for the Messagebird. And if I select one of the two, or you create a new one, but you've already done that, then here you can give them the name of who is the actual sender. And in this case, this is your own bot sending a text message. Awesome is that. There we go. The recipient in this case is demo, right? Because this is the one, the input that is coming from here. So we have the two characters that are needed to push it somewhere. So in this case, you know, it's being pushed into the webhook. Here it's only referred to as this. And from there on out, you continue. Here, I didn't complete step one now because I already had it. But if these elements are as they should, and just like this, then you are good, completely good to go. So the thing that it's referring to is the actual testing here, because this one we haven't done because it was already in use somewhere else. So basically, if you take this one with it, this is the QB Academy page for it, in which you can connect your Quriobot to Zapier. So the step that I took first is to get the Zapier account, make the Zap, select the catch hook. From here, you have the URL available, which it will then be tested. In that regard, you know, it will start looking for the hook. If you've put that link in here, you then walk through the preview, then you will find that the bot pushes it towards Zapier, and Zapier will can put it to use. And then depending on the app that you are looking to use with Zapier, and there you define the next steps, which in this case was the sending of a text message. And I will quickly see whether I can turn on my camera real quick. You can see it here. This is the message that I just got from Zapier. The one that you see above is the one that I tested with 2 days ago. So with that, we have built a bot that is connected to Mailchimp. We have a bot that nicely welcomes people and that sends a confirmation email after subscribing to the Mailchimp list. And we have a bot that is connected to Mailchimp and that, to Zapier, and that with the integration with Messagebird can send text messages to the people that have submitted their phone number in the Quriobot conversation. What we are going to do next is we are going to make a few more videos, and we will not be doing this today because today we were only talking about the creation of variables, the connection to Mailchimp, and the connection to Zapier. Next steps, which we are going to make, are short videos on some other integrations as you can make them. What we, for example, have seen flying by is how you can connect a Quriobot to your Google Sheets, or for example a Google Calendar. But if you go to the pages of the apps, give it one quick second, on what other things you can do. I always like the sending a text message, but you can also let Quriobot schedule appointments in your Google Calendar, push leads that you've got into, for example, HubSpot or any other CRM tool like Salesforce. There are ways in which you can collect data and push it forward into your Zoho CRM and all kinds of other things you can think of. So these kind of examples we will make some other videos for as well. So with that, we've stayed within the 1 hour. I hope that it was useful for you guys. This webinar will be recorded and will be shared. If there are any comments, remarks, suggestions, please feel free to send them to us, and then we will make sure to create some new content. Thank you for attending, and just quickly looking whether there are any additional questions, but it seems like there are not. I'm just going to go into the Q&A. No, there's nothing here anymore at this point. If stuff does pop up, go to facebook.com and enroll in our group to stay in touch with us as well as other users. Thank you for joining. We will soon be putting forward new webinars. So thank you for now, and I hope to meet you guys online again soon. Have a great day. Bye.